Welcome to Season 4 of Confessions, HIV-Positive Women. We are honored to bring you stories that break stigmas and amplify voices of courage. This season, we're focusing on a powerful theme, the experiences of women living with HIV who have gone through pregnancy. We'll dive into their journeys, explore the latest updates on CDC breastfeeding guidelines, and discuss the challenges and triumphs related to substance use, recovery, and obtaining housing stability. Join us as we uncover the resilience, strength, and hope that define these incredible women. Let's get started.
My name is Dana Walton. I am 28 years old. I'm from Los Angeles, California, and I've been living with HIV for 6 years. I was born in San Clemente, California, in a house, in a tub, while it was raining. My middle name is Rain because of that. I was adopted by my uncle and my aunt who live in Hollywood, California, and raised in the Hollywood Hills. I grew up upper middle class, went to, Burning Man growing up with my parents who were somewhat hippies. Not somewhat, they were. Had a lot of artistic background, and they did everything they could for me. I played sports, I went to summer camps, I was in the arts, I did photography, and they put me in piano and violin and clarinet, and I surfed and I swam and I played softball, and I did all these things that, so they could give me the best life possible. And they wanted to create a different outcome than my biological mother, who fell into drug addiction and having a bunch of children by a bunch of different men and just giving the children up for no reason, or whatever reason it may be. It was just, that's what they wanted to do for my life. I kind of rebelled against that because I think once you hear, you're not supposed to do something, you want to do it. So I think I got my first STD when I was like 16. I'm an idiot. Because you're a minor, they mail the results to your house, and that was mortifying. And my parents were not understanding, and they were like, "So you're a slut," and I didn't even know where to go from there. I got kicked out of my house on my 18th birthday without any sort of documentation. My biological mother never filed for my birth certificate, and nobody ever really dealt with it after that. They just got by with guardianship papers. And I had no idea how to fix this myself, and it took me, a long time to figure it out. And I had moved down to San Juan Capistrano to stay with my biological father after getting kicked out of my parents' house. And he is also a recovering addict, and so our personalities kind of clashed a lot. He ended up kicking me out of his house, and I took the train up to LA. I moved in with a friend of mine from high school, and he was doing oxys. We were going to this trap house all the time, and they were sitting around on the ground and smoking, I guess, a pookie. And I was like, "Oh, what is that?" And, he was like, "No, don't do that. That's bad." I'm like, "Well, you're doing that. How bad, how bad could it be?" And he wasn't doing that. He wasn't doing the crystal meth. He was doing the oxys. But eventually, I tried it, and it didn't do anything to me. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. Like, what's the hype? Why is everybody packed into this room trying to hit this pipe if you don't even feel anything? So I kept hitting it, and I guess it started to affect me. I started to just stay awake. It was just an awakeness. And eventually, I had, I guess, quickly just started to disrespect his family. Like, not him per se, but his family, his sister, his mom, and his dad. And I got kicked out of their house. And so I just went to this trap house because I had nowhere else to go, no one to turn to. And I just started to get high every day. And the lady whose house it was, she's conniving and sneaky and weird. And this guy comes to the trap house, sees me. I guess he took a liking to me, and he took me out of the trap house and went to the Jet Motel on La Brea and Overhill, which is where he, being a supplier to all of these people, just had copious amounts of meth extravagant bongs to smoke it out of. And that's when I really, got really, really high. Just for months and weeks on end, just every single day, all day, being able to smoke because I'm in this hotel room. From there, I met my first baby daddy, who was also, getting high. Everybody was getting high. And we started to, I guess, hang out with each other more. He had a car, and I got really, really attached to him. And I think I stayed in his car with him for like 3 years. We were just smoking and getting high, and I think by then I'm 19. Yeah, that was the year I was 19. And I had gotten pregnant around 20, had a baby at 21, lost that baby because she was born positive to crystal meth, and I had no family support. I didn't know, the consequences of my actions or anything like that. So I went through the process to try to get her back, but I wasn't ready to give up using, so I lost her. She's still in Los Angeles. She lives with a family in Malibu. I didn't start going to rehab until I lost my first child. I first went to Angel Step 2 in Bellflower. I went to La Casita in Downey. I went to Tarzana in Long Beach. And I eventually got kind of tired of the lifestyle. And one day, I started hearing this rumor about myself from other people. They were like, oh, she has HIV, or, there's a rumor. And my best friend had said, if it's just a rumor, just go get it checked out. And I remember I had been really, really sick. I don't know how I got sick. I just remember being really, really sick, just thinking I just picked something up off the street, And I was in the hospital for a while, and she had came to visit me, and she was real interested in what was wrong with me. Like, she kept asking the doctors what the problem was, and she never really had any sort of interest in my life like that before. So she kept, when I got out the hospital, she kept saying, just go get it checked out. And so I went to Common Ground in Venice, and I got tested, and the lady comes back and she said, have you ever been tested for HIV before? I said, no. She said, well, you tested positive. And I don't even remember, what happened after that. There was a girl that I was very close with, that I thought I was very close with. We lived with this guy together for many years, and we became very, very close. And she had a man in her life that didn't want the two of us to be really, good friends. Because when we got together, anything was possible. And I was helping her take care of her child that she, still had custody of for some reason. And it was my understanding that she was coerced into giving me a dirty rig that looked clean, that had been used by somebody that was HIV positive. Now, mind you, nobody in our circle is HIV positive, and I know that for fact, except for one person that she had us hang out with this one time. I was never one to share rigs with anybody. When I did start slamming, it was after I had lost my child and I had just given up hope on myself. I don't know what happened. I didn't have sex with any of these people. I always, did my best to check to make sure that I wasn't using a dirty rig from anybody. And, it was brought to my attention that she had, purposely did this to me because other men wanted me, and she was jealous of that. And I had never in a million years expected anything like this to happen. I wasn't uncareful. I wasn't having unprotected sex. I wasn't, she kept saying oh, well, if it's just a rumor, just go get tested. Just kind of egging me to go and get tested. The same person said, to have given it to me. So I went and got tested. And that's when I found out that I had HIV. I got diagnosed at Common Ground in 2018. It was right before COVID started, I think. I'm not 100% sure, just because that whole time because I was using and because it was just traumatic for me is kind of a blur. I guess I disassociated. I didn't, I asked her, questions. I got set up for care. I was just using in the streets, newly diagnosed, very angry, very frustrated, very embarrassed. I felt like as soon as I got the diagnosis that everybody knew and everybody was going to be conspiring against me. And that's how this happened, is people were conspiring against me. I used for, I think, another 1.5 to 2 years after I got diagnosed. As selfish as it sounds, I wanted to find somebody to give me what I wanted. I wanted my child. I wanted a baby. I wanted a family. I wanted, a man, somebody to support me, and somebody sober. I wanted sober friends. Like they do tell you in rehab, if you want to stay clean, you need to find sober friends. And so eventually I just got sick of it, and I started to not hang out with the same people as much, or just kind of hang out by myself, still homeless, still wandering around, but I tried to find sober people, and eventually I found my now fiance, who helped me really stay sober and keep my head on my shoulders. And when I got pregnant with my daughter, who is about to be 3, I knew I didn't want to go through the same mistake, and I knew I had to get sober. I was trying to get into any treatment program since the moment I found out I was pregnant. I was calling Claire, I was calling Tarzana, I think I even called Impact, I was calling Miriam's house. I was really trying to go into Miriam's house because I didn't know if I wanted to do a treatment program or if I just wanted a house for pregnant women, who need the resources. And I still, at this time, all these years later, did not have my birth certificate, any form of identification, have not had a job, am just basically getting government assistance. And one day I was hanging out with some people in the jungles, and he had been an alumni of Claire, and so he called the same person that I was also friends with who works at Claire and got me in, and that was amazing. And I went in the next week, and the rest is history. I went to Claire treatment program March 29th of 2021. That's my sobriety date. Well, in rehab, I had, when I was at Claire, I had a counselor who really should be fired or lose her license because she was talking to other clients about my diagnosis and about my life, and she was reaching out to my just then baby daddy, now fiance, and giving him information that was not even valid. And sharing my story was in rehab was almost an accident because I had kind of felt a vibe from somebody, and we were sitting in a car taking some other girls to get drug tested, and this girl didn't want to sit by me or something, and we had been friends, and I said out loud, "Brenda, did you tell her that I'm HIV positive or something? What is the deal?" I could just tell that she had, just because of how she reacted, but of course the girl was like, "What? No, why would she tell me that?" I'm not really afraid of my diagnosis anymore. I wasn't at that point. And she was like, "Oh, I would never judge you, but thank you for telling me." But it's like, what is it to you? We're not having sex. Why was it even any of your information? I told you because I just want to get that out there, and in a car full of people, so it was, she then went on to not treat me the same. She wouldn't let me in her room, didn't want me to sit on her bed. Female drama in a house where you can't go anywhere for 6 months. Well, the difference between my first pregnancy and my second pregnancy was my second pregnancy was planned. And yes, I was already diagnosed with HIV, but I think the first question I ever asked was, "Can I still have children?" And she was like, "Yes, of course, you can't breastfeed," which I thought was, something to challenge later on. So my first pregnancy, I had no idea what I was doing, what was going on. And then everything kind of hit me, with the HIV diagnosis, and finding out I was pregnant with my second daughter was really just like a time for change, and the syphilis diagnosis must have just come up. Just somebody I must have slept with, maybe one of my, farewells to somebody before I got sober. I don't know. But I remember getting into Claire, getting transferred from Venice Family Clinic to Dr. DeVille and the UCLA OBGYN, and them finding it. And I was pretty scared because they said, this can affect your baby, and I wasn't scared of the HIV because I was already taking my medication. I had already been undetectable. I'd been undetectable for a long time, but the syphilis was, and I was very mean and cold to my child's father during that pregnancy because of still partially being in addiction, him not understanding anything, and just not wanting him around to judge me for certain aspects. That included, I could get treated for that during pregnancy. He'll never know, and then come around time for birth, they're, saying things and he has no idea what they're talking about. And for me, if it's treatable, or even if it's not treatable, here we are. And, I've just kind of learned to just take what life throws at me, just one step at a time, and figure things out and try not to freak out, The shots in the ass during pregnancy it's whatever. You're sore for a couple of days and you move on. You just make sure that your levels are going down or whatever it is that the doctors say. But giving medication to a newborn, it is what it is. It's time consuming because you have to, but it helped me because I'm kind of a lazy person, and have never really been one for routine, and it's forced me to really buckle down and, hey, they have to take this every 12 hours and it has to be measured this way and for this amount of time. By the end of it, you're over it. You just want them to not be taking medication. And then the second time around, I made the decision to breastfeed. So they took the medication plus another medication for the entire time I was breastfeeding. Luckily, my third child is an absolute angel, and she took the medicine like a champ. If I ever have another child, I'm definitely breastfeeding again because I think that was beautiful and amazing, and nothing that I should have had to miss out on just because of my diagnosis. Not in 2024. The online seminars for breastfeeding, just to have more information and having a supportive team behind you, because I remember I spoke to DeVille about it with my first pregnancy with him, and he was like, no, you can't do that. And then I was like, you know what, but the chances of me passing it on to my child are less than something catastrophic and a freak accident happening than me passing it on to her. I wanted to breastfeed, and it was immediately, okay, this is what you want to do, then this is what you're gonna have to do, and just make sure you tell these people and make sure that everybody around you is on board. And once my decision was to breastfeed, I had a nurse that went to the delivery room and made sure that everybody was on the same page, and everybody knew not to call Child Protective Services on me and not to freak out, and to let me have that option, because it's not the 90s anymore. It's not 5 years ago anymore. It's today. It was a blessing to be treated like a human being and a regular person, because at the end of the day, I might forget about it day by day, other than having a reminder on my phone at 11 a.m. to take my medication. But I don't, sometimes you think about it and it's like, wow, I can't give blood. I don't even know if I can be a donor. Some things are limited, but some of the bigger things don't have to be limited. And that's really nice to have people in your corner who can support those decisions. When you first get diagnosed, that was a big thing on my mind, is who do I tell? When do I tell them? Do I even have to tell them? I had a nurse or a doctor tell me that once I am undetectable, it's up to me who I share that with. And it took me a few different tries, a few different people, of telling them and losing people to really kind of understand that if they leave, they're not really with it, like that. And they're not going to ever be, so you might as well just let them go. And if they stay, then they're good people and they're understanding and they're really here for you. So when I told my partner, I don't really think he understood. I don't really know if he understood the gravity of what I was telling him or what it meant. I just, after sleeping with him a few different times, I said, I have something to tell you. I am HIV positive, but I am taking my medication. I cannot give it to you. You can take that however you want to take that. I just know that I like you a lot, and so I'm telling you because I respect you. And he understood. I don't know if he understood, even now, it's not, I feel like as long as I'm taking care of myself and I'm undetectable, I'm not giving it to him. He doesn't, I don't even know, I don't know where his mental is, but he took it fine. What was harder was giving the medication to our daughters, because he took a while, 2 children, for him to finally understand that, there's nothing wrong with them. This is just a preventative measure. This is because I am HIV positive. You're not HIV positive, but there's nothing wrong with our children. He doesn't want me to tell his family, and I've only told a couple of people in my family. I think I told my dad on accident, I told my brother, and I told my biological mother. For me, it was as soon as I got diagnosed, it must be written on my forehead, everybody knows. But it took a while for me to get out of that. It was a lot of self-work. It was a lot of inner healing. It was a lot of reading and music and just becoming a different kind of person, finding a new groove in life where you're not thinking about it. Some of my friends know, obviously. The ones that took it well are still in my life, and the ones that didn't react so well, they're out of my life, and there's nothing that I can do about it, and they were probably never even my friends to begin with. The stigma is difficult because it's real. The fact that I can't tell my fiance's family, why I have to give our newborn baby all this medication, when she seems totally healthy, or why I'm going off into another room to do so is difficult, because I've come to a place in my life where I don't care. If it comes up, it comes up. I'm not just going to walk down the street and tell everybody, but I'm not really ashamed of my past or my addiction or my, my current status, because I'm not. I have the life I always wanted. I almost think that getting diagnosed really gave me that kick in the ass that I needed to kind of get up and grow up, you know what I mean? It wasn't all about, me anymore. It was other people and their livelihoods at stake if they come into contact with me sometimes. So I had to kind of do that, yeah. Since my diagnosis, I became a mother, and I take a lot of pride in being a mother, in the kind of mother I am. I have a very loving, work ethic-oriented, hustle-motivated fiance who really wants us to have a good life and pushed me to go to the courthouse and get my birth certificate. And it was me who filled it out properly and went down there and made sure everything was in order so I could go in front of a judge and say, hey, I exist, I'm here, this is my name, give me a birth certificate. So I did that, and then I went and I studied for my driver's test, and I passed that on the first try, and then I got my license on the second try, and then my fiance got us a car that, I get to use at free will, and I have permanent housing. I was homeless from 19 to, 24, and all because of my diagnosis. I have housing because I am a mother living with HIV. I'm really, really grateful for the housing that I have now, and for the chance to pay very little rent in Los Angeles. Is in a nice enough neighborhood, because it's so hard out here. I've seen studio apartments for $2,400 a month. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. I don't know how anybody lives in this city anymore. Well, I'm just another person, You never know what the next person's going through. And sometimes I feel like As a Caucasian female in Los Angeles, I can kind of come off shallow sometimes. But that's because I know what I've been through and I know what I've overcome, and I kind of have earned my little bit of attitude. I'm okay with that. I'm not being mean to anybody purposely. I'm not, trying to offend anybody. It's not the end. Life gets better no matter how it happened. Just take it as an opportunity to reinvent yourself and become a better person. Just get your viral load suppressed, just become honest with yourself and with other people. And honesty is really gonna let you know who's really there for you, just like in sickness and in health. It's kind of the same, but just without the marriage. You can do anything you want to do. What I'd like to tell people who are living with HIV or who are newly diagnosed is that it's not the end. You can come out of this. You can get better. You can reinvent yourself. You can have a future, a very, very bright future. You can have everything you've ever dreamed of. I don't believe that this ended anything for me. I think it helped me come out of a very, very dark and endless place. And maybe it's the reason why I'm alive today and not, dead or still on the streets.
Thank you for joining us for another insightful episode of Confessions, HIV-Positive Women. If today's stories resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review or a comment. Your support helps us continue to shine a light on these important issues. Stay tuned for more inspiring narratives this season as we continue to explore the intersections of HIV, pregnancy, motherhood, housing, and recovery. Until next time, take care, stay informed, and remember, together we can create a more compassionate and understanding world.